Not only might there be a quarterback controversy, according to Neal Brown's press conference this afternoon, but there's billboards up all over Morgantown saying, "Fire Neal Brown." What the heck is going on the bye week? Stick around. This is Locked On West Virginia.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome in, guys. Welcome in this afternoon on Locked On West Virginia. I'm Mountaineer Paul, your host. What the heck is going on? This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started, and that's guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen of the day, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. Well, drama in Morgantown. Imagine that. It's not like it's been – that's one thing that has not lacked here in the last few weeks especially. And today being no different, what does Neal Brown drive to work in today? Billboards. That's right, billboards. It's what we all expected. First it was a plane. Now it's billboards. Here we go. On the X, No Huddle WVU posted – Pete Thamel at Fire Neal Brown is tired of the mediocrity in Morgantown. It's time for a change. And here you can see him, the Fire Neal Brown billboards all over Morgantown. And apparently here's the concept art, firenealbrown.org. And then it's at the mile Morgantown, 1/4 mile east off of Route 705, east facing. Route 119 on Don Knotts Boulevard. 471 North Greenbag Road, south facing. And then you've got SR 705, 100 yards east, outward, Stewartstown Road. Not exactly sure what all those abbreviations mean. I'm sure they do to some other people. I'm curious to know how everybody feels about those. Do you think they went too far? I think it's a fair question. Listen, it's America, and your First Amendment rights are absolute. Freedom to press, whatever amendment that covers there, it's there for a reason. Obviously, I don't mean to sound dumb, but I'm in the heat of the moment. I'm not sure if it's the first or a different one that covers that, but obviously we're allowed to do that. It's not like he's the president and it wouldn't matter if he was. But there is some moral aspect to this to where I think about his kids, his wife that have to drive around and see possibly this right off the heels of a win. I'm not saying he doesn't need to be fired. I just don't see the point in it, because is it going to really change Ren Baker's mind? Is Ren Baker going to have a eureka moment driving around and seeing these like, oh, this is what I should have done? I don't see the benefit to it other than to show them that we're not happy. And by the way, the name of the people that have put this together called the Wolf Pack. So they must have some pro wrestling roots. So it's got to be Coos. It's got to be Coos. He loves wrestling, and so who else would call themselves the Wolf? I'm just kidding. But yeah. So this is a wild scenario for me. I wasn't expecting this to happen. I thought it was mostly a bluff, but I assume the guys. There was one guy had a name that was talking about the plane banner. He had a name, and I know they had like a GoFundMe or something put together for that, and he had made a promise that they were going to do something with the money. since somebody got involved and basically kept them from being able to fly that plane. And so they figured out the billboards option, and those billboards, they'll take your money every time. Yeah. Okay. Adam Palm. Somebody commented, if there's you listening on podcast, the Wolfpack billboards are a psyop by Florida State boosters to lure Neal Brown to Florida State to save Seminoles football. That's wild, man. That's wild. What drama. What drama. And it's crazy in a bye week. And Neal Brown actually addressed this in his press conference today. He said, "I'm here under protest." That's what he said. So Neal Brown is aware of the billboards. Why wouldn't he be? He seemed to handle it well. I don't think he's the kind of person that would let you see what he's not the kind of guy that would let you see it bother him, in my opinion. We've already seen chinks in that armor over the past couple of weeks anyway during various press conferences. I don't think he was going to crap the bed in another press conference. And to be honest, I found a lot of today's press conference to be pretty interesting, if not for any reasons but the quarterback situation. And so we're going to get into that here in just a minute on the second segment. To finish out my thoughts on this billboard situation, though, I don't know. Somebody's saying that I'm misunderstanding what he meant by under protest. Could be. I could be because he doesn't want to be there. But to me, I thought he meant people were protesting him. Either way, it's not really that big of a deal. I don't know how much good it's going to do at the end of the day. Like, just to sum everything up, I don't know how much good it's going to do. It's not going to bring Ren Baker any closer to a decision, and it's given a lot of us talking points and put more pressure on the team. I think really it's really only going to do negative things. And while I'm not upset or mad about them being out there, I just don't see the point. It really is I guess where I'm coming from. How do you guys feel? Let me know in a comment below. Let me know in the chat. Like the video, subscribe if you can too while we're at it. And we'll get on that quarterback controversy up next, guys. We'll talk about what Neal Brown had to say when he was asked the question again by Mike Osty, who has no fear these days about a quarterback country in Morgantown. You might be actually surprised this time. This is Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by, in part, FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can pay $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats with live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win on your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Back on Locked On West Virginia, let's go to the part of the press conference where Balls of Steel Mike Osty asked the question once again about the quarterback situation. It's almost like he's becoming famous for just this question now. Pretty funny in a way, but Neal seemed a little agitated. Let's go there.
To get to your third read in a really high pressure environment, that's a credit to him. It was the right read, but I mean, that was his third.
Did he play well enough to make the decision on who starts regardless of injury.
Yeah, Mike, you love asking these questions. Like, you ask more questions about the quarterbacks than anybody. No, but like, I'm talking about 3 or 4 week period, and I respect that. I'm kind of being funny, but I do respect. I'm not being hard on you.
I know you said it.
I don't believe him, by the way. I don't know why he tries to explain this stuff away. Maybe it's just me, but did that aggravate anybody else just now? Like, just admit that it aggravated you. Like, to me, it was obvious looking at him right there that aggravated the hell out of him that Mike Ossie asked that question. But then it's almost like he doesn't want anybody to see him actually get upset or something. I don't know. I don't think he was being funny there. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be misreading the situation, but just one before he goes into his answer, I just wanted to point that out. I don't understand the demeanor here. Why does it matter? Like, if it bothers you, it bothers you. At least like Bill Belichick and guys like that own it, or won't even. They'll be dickheads about it. Neal's like, no, it don't really bother me. I was just giving you a hard time. Like, no, it's obviously bothering you. Just my 2 cents. I'm gonna go back a couple seconds. Tell me if you see that too. Right there. It's right there. Okay.
No, but like, I'm talking about 3 or 4 week period.
Did he play well enough to make the decision on who starts regardless of injury?
Yeah, Mike, you love asking these questions. Like, you ask more questions about the quarterbacks than anybody. No, but like, I'm talking about 3 or 4 week period, and I respect that. I'm kind of being funny, but I do respect. I'm not being hard on you.
I know you said it wasn't.
So
it's weird.
Yeah, I just think.
Weird.
Yeah, no, it is. It's fair. Like, I don't disagree. It's a fair question. I agree with that. And I guess the best way for me to answer that is I really can't give you an answer until Garrett's healthy, and he's not healthy right now. Okay. I think it's hard to lose jobs when you're injured. I don't think that's a good practice. But Nico played really well, and
I disagree with so much of Neal Brown's philosophies in football, and I'm no coach. I get that. But I've watched football for a really long time, and I've heard and mimicked a lot of the things we repeat about football. We've heard, right, over the years from coaches that we've been around in our personal lives or on TV or whatever. But I've seen a billion players lose their jobs due to injury. Tom Brady being one of them. So I don't get this philosophy that it's not a good practice to lose your job to injury. If a guy comes in and plays better than the guy before him, it doesn't matter if he lost his job to poor play, to injury, to tiddlywinks. I don't care what reason it is you lose your job to. I don't know why he stands on this stupid. He drives me crazy with this stuff, y'all. He really does.
happy for him, but I don't have any any long-term answer for you right now.
Would it be fair then to say once Garrett's healthy, he's quarterback one that day at practice at least?
Well, I think that it's a work in progress. Like
non-committal. I was surprised.
Here's what I'll tell you, Mike, is I don't think you lose jobs for being injured. Now, has Nico played well enough to deserve some playing time? Absolutely. But as far as like starter or anything, we're not going to talk about that until Garrett's healthy, and that's not where we're at right now.
Okay, so two things. Number one, obviously he's not going to give Cincinnati an edge, so that's a huge part of this. I'm not dumb. I understand that. So, part of him being vague is for that. The other thing is I think he maybe really is torn on this. There's that aspect of it too. Let me get out of this. Get back in the little frame here. Okay. This is an interesting subject for me because I think it's pretty clear that Nico, even though he's less experienced than Garrett, is obviously still figuring it out back there. Just a much better. He's what we need this year more than what Garrett was what we needed last year. And that Garrett hasn't shown up this year in any game. Like Not even the games that we played well in has he looked like he did last year. Really, he's had some good running games. He's maybe had one good throwing game. I'd have to go back and look. Even Oklahoma State, he had like 100 yards. Like it wasn't anything. So, but back to Neal. Number one, my biggest protest with this whole thing is, what do you mean you can't lose your job when you're injured? Does anybody else think that's the dumbest thing? I just can't believe that's a philosophy that you have. Anyway, number two, obviously he's probably playing it closer to the vest and not going to put it all the way out there. But I think whether people can say it's still Garrett's job, that's fine, but it shouldn't be. It may still be Garrett's job indeed. I'm not saying that it's not, but it shouldn't be, in my opinion. I've seen enough. I'll say it one more time. Garrett's biggest problem outside of accuracy, outside of accuracy, is injury, right? I think the main thing that holds him back is his inability to be able to play completely 100% healthy. He's always got something hampering him. And so the one thing that makes him the most dangerous, he's not able to always do because injuries. That's my big takeaway anyways. And I don't know if he'll ever be there because he can't throw it consistently enough for the other part to not need to matter, right? As to where Nico can, you saw it against Arizona. He didn't, like the Oklahoma State game, he ran really well in that game. Where he was trucking dudes. But if he couldn't do that, he still has an 80% completion percentage in the game. How lucky were we that he threw for 80%? We hadn't seen that since, I don't even think Will Greer ever had an 80% completion percentage day. I don't care how bad Arizona is this year. 80% completion percentage was actually 81. Is dynamite good. So Nico has warranted some more playing time, if that's how you want to put it, I guess, whatever. I heard somebody say this too. Garrett was his first recruit, and he is so committed to him. And if you go back over the history of Neal Brown, it started with, let's see. Well, we'll go back to Daggy, right? That he tried to figure out who was better between Daggy and Austin Kendall, which is, I can't even believe we were in that situation to begin with. But Daggy ended up being the better of those worlds. When it was obvious, Garrett was way better. I think he would have played just his legs alone, what we could have done as a running team with Letty Brown and Garrett Green in the backfield, to me, was he just sits on quarterbacks for too long. Garrett didn't come in soon enough, in my opinion, and then took all the way into the middle of the season with JT Daniels for that to finally happen. Same thing with JT Daniels. It was like several games into really bad performances. I was posting JT Daniels hate videos, not hate, but like we need to bench him for like probably 2 or 3 games at least after Virginia Tech. Because he played well against Virginia Tech. And that's, so, and then Neal still didn't do it for a long time until finally we just had to, I think against Texas, or it was the next week, maybe TCU. That's who it was, TCU. So he can, he loves to sit on a quarterback for way too long. That's just who he is, man. Somebody in the chat saying JT Daniels had to have been hurt. That's what his MO was. He's much like Garrett's is. He can never be what he is physically capable of being because of injury. JT Daniels had 2, maybe 3 season enders that I know of. So it's not that JT Daniels wasn't a good quarterback, because in his prime, at his healthiest, he is. I felt like, anyway, he was damn good for a spread offense. Not a runner. He'd have been good behind this offensive line for sure. Like JT, we didn't have the offensive line for JT that we needed. That's another thing. Or the receivers, to be honest. I mean, those guys are better than what we have now as a whole, but no. So Green was not at the game, for people asking in the chat. No, he stayed home. So anyway, the whole point to that is Neal Brown sits on quarterbacks way too long and never usually agrees when the change needs to be made with the fan base, and he's the one that's being paid. Yes, the Billboard's a real caster. Somebody in the chat's asking about the Billboards for those of you on podcast. The Billboards are real. For those of you that have not seen them, I'll pull them back up one more time. Let me get over to my X account really quick. Okay, boom. I'll share it with you really quick. One more time. Then we got to go to break really quick. All right, so here they are. And here is the locations: Mile Ground, Morgantown, Route 119, Don Knotts Boulevard, SR 705, 100 yards east off of Stewartstown Road. So those are the locations. As we scroll through one more time, filenealbrown.org. This is a website you can go to right now. So, yeah, that's what this episode started about. But then we moved into the press conference and some of the stuff he said there. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, I'm going to give some final thoughts on this. We'll put a bow on this episode. So stick around, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by Game Time, guys. Game Time picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. It's a super deal. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. You can look at seats before you buy. There's a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection, etc. Curation makes it easier to save even more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Don't forget about that all-in pricing feature that you must toggle on, and a lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you can find a lower price. Your purchase is basically covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. So download the Game Time app today and ask yourself this: what time is it? It's game time. We are back on Locked On West Virginia. Thank you guys for being so boisterous in the chat. And keep doing that. Keep hanging around, and let me know after the fact too if you're watching this, guys, what you think about today's episode. What can I improve on? What can I do better with? I'm always looking for that, as long as it's coming from a good, constructive place of love. Basically, to just tie a bow on this, two major topics we talked about today: Neal Brown's press conference, a little defensive at times, especially with Mike Osty and his questions again. The quarterback controversy, if there indeed is one. Really, there's not, but his lack of being committal will lead a lot to people to speculate on that. Garrett can't stay healthy enough to get on the field, so it looks like Nico is going to have a shot to continue to prove himself. So keep an eye on that. And then the Billboards. I've said it earlier. I'll say it again for those of you that are new here for right now. I don't agree with it. I understand where they're coming from. I don't know what good they're going to do. They can really only do harm. I think Rim Baker at this point knows the fan base is unhappy with Neal Brown, and he's not going to fire him in the middle of the season. So I think it only hurts things for the most part. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, you think about all this on social media right now. How many recruits are scrolling through seeing that? How many coaches, future coaches, possibly for West Virginia, are seeing that? Future recruits, family members. There's really a lot that it affects that I don't think people take into account just because they, some people pulled money together, and I mean, there it is. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, Bama. You don't have to agree, but I feel like he was defensive with Mike Osti. So you don't have to like it. This is my opinion, man. It's just an opinion. That's all it is. So at the end of the day, though, like I said, the poster, while a little entertaining, I'll admit, don't know what it helps. I think it only hurts. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know how long they're due to stay up. Does anybody know how long billboards last? I mean, can you pay for them for a week, for a day? I'm just curious. Like, how long can one of those even stay up? It's pretty crazy, actually, when I think about that. It could be up for the rest of the season, I suppose, if people fund it for that long. So that's a great point. Somebody just said in the chat, why spend it on billboards when you can put that money towards NIL? So that's a great point. As a matter of fact, I'll read you guys one more thing. I had to change my second subject to the quarterback thing because I had to change my second one to the quarterback deal so that I could talk about that. But I did have this to talk about as well. Let me get back to my notes. Yeah. So here, I'll go ahead and sum up what happened with. They released the question and answers for the House settlement. This is for the House settlement deal, guys. And you can find this on not John Rothstein, but what's his name? Ballinger, however he says his name. Anyway, this is the notes I made. Schools can give athletes more. Schools can now offer athletes more benefits like extra scholarships, money for housing, travel, or even with academic expenses. It's a big change from before when schools were more limited what they can offer. Limits do apply. I think there are limits on how much schools can spend on these extra benefits. These limits are set by the NCAA and based on a pool of money that schools contribute to. Athletes got to report their money. Athletes who receive money or benefits from outside sources like NIL or sponsorships will need to report it to their schools over $600. This is to ensure transparency and to make sure that schools are complying with the rules. Not all schools have to do it. Schools don't have to offer all the extra benefits if they don't want to. However, if a school does choose to offer these benefits, they must follow all the rules. In essence, the settlement gives schools more flexibility to support their athletes financially, but there are rules in place to ensure fairness and transparency. This is a big step forward, in my opinion, for college athletes who now have more opportunities to earn money and support themselves. Some additional stuff I have written down is the settlement is the result of the lawsuit by several college athletes who argued the NCAA's rules on athlete compensation were unfair. It's expected to have a significant impact on college athletics, particularly in football and basketball. It's possible that the settlement could lead to further changes in the way college athletes can be compensated in the future. And then for questions 6 through 10, I just jotted down question 6. School. This is the answer. I just did the answers. No, schools are not required to provide full scholarships in any particular sport. They can now choose how much of a scholarship they give to each athlete. Number 7, I wrote the NCAA will set limits on the number of athletes that schools can award benefits to in each sport. Pretty crazy. And then question 8, no, the settlement does not affect how schools qualify for championships or how revenue is distributed. 9, There are several steps remaining before the settlement is finalized, including a notice period, claims period, and final approval. 10, if you have questions about the settlement and its impact on your school, you should contact the school conference directly. And number 11, student athletes with questions about the settlement should visit collegiateathletecompensation.com. So that was just what I had written down as bullet points to go off of. If I for my second segment, but it was just I hadn't had time to condense it yet, so I kind of switched gears. But that's all. That was a lot of information, really quick. But if you want more on that, Ross Dellinger is the guy that posted a lot of that. So go check it out if you want to. A lot of information there that affects the sport. All right, guys, that's all for me today. Billboards in Morgantown. Never thought I'd see the day. We'll see where it goes, how long they stay up and all that. Keep an eye on that quarterback situation. Eddie Vesterin has taken a medical red shirt, by the way, so he will not play anymore this year. Keep coming back, guys. I appreciate your all's support as always. You guys have made this last month the very best month I've ever had on YouTube by a wide margin. Set to do over 150,000 views this month, which is a lot for a medium-sized, small-sized YouTuber. So although we're growing, like I've grown 614 subscribers since I started with Locked On. So that's a lot. And that's in 5 weeks. So if we continue on that pace, we'll be at 10,000 before the end of next year. So things are going good, guys. Just keep the support up. Share this video out if you can. I know not everybody agrees with me on here. That's fine. I know. I get it. We're all going to agree all the time. But I promise to respect you if you respect me. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you tomorrow. This episode's over. And I'm out. I'll be back on tonight, by the way. I'm out.